I wanted to do a video on kind of a strange topic, and that was deaths resulting from weightlifting accidents. And from what I've found, and it makes sense, the bench press is the exercise that causes most of these freak deaths. And I call them freak because they roughly probably take out about 10 to 15 people each year. And that's just due to usually being careless and making stupid mistakes. Old-time strongman, pro wrestler, and Bronze Era bodybuilder, the Russian Lion George Hackenschmidt, is given credit for creating the most iconic exercise attributed to those who lift, and that lift is the bench press. When Hack invented the move around 1899, it was known as a floor press and was harder to perform due to the restrictive range of motion and limited room for any cheating. By the mid-1930s, lifters had begun lying on wooden boxes or benches to give us the lift we now know today as the bench press. As a lifter or bodybuilder, when people see you and it is apparent by your physique, the most common question I have gotten is, how much can you bench? Most people who don't lift or know very little about it always seem to use bench as the barometer to measure your strength. I have never really had anybody come up and ask me how much I could squat or shoulder press or curl. It's usually always, how much do you bench? And that applies to people who don't lift. They just associate the bench with lifting and strength. I think this goes back to kids in high school weight rooms testing themselves by seeing how much they can bench press, because I remember this is how it was when I first began lifting in a school weight room. The bench press is arguably the best well-known lift. The squat is probably a close second, but the bench has definitely caused the most lifting fatalities. While I was researching for this video, it really was amazing to see the amount of bench pressing accidents that have caused death. The rough numbers, as I said, are probably about 10 to 15 people a year, and most of the deaths were totally unnecessary. From what I gather, the majority seem to happen in home gyms where there is no spotter around, and the lifter either drops the bar across the throat, causing neck breakage, or the bar rolls towards the throat, and that's more common on a decline bench. Or the bar can be dropped over the vitals of the chest, crushing the lifter to death. Or the lifter can get trapped under the bar if he's using collars on the bar, thus he wouldn't be able to dump the weight off. And common sense really could have prevented all these deaths that I came across while doing my research. And if you are lifting heavy on bench, it's definitely best to always have a spotter. And that's usually not a problem if you lift in the gym, because people, from my experience, people are always willing to give you a spot if you ask. And if you are alone, just go lighter and higher rep. At the very least, leave the clamps off the end of the bars, which I never use clamps anyway, so you could dump the weight if you get into any trouble. Also, the suicide grip should not be used. Suicide in the name, meaning the bar can easily slip out of the hands. The thumb should wrap around the bar, especially if you're lifting heavy. Using the suicide grip just makes it easier for the bar to slip out and land over the vitals or on your throat, and it's sure to cause serious injury or death. I have been lifting for nearly 20 years now, well, probably a little over 20 years, and I've only had to do the roll of shame once due to tricep muscle locking up on me, and I was lifting in my basement when I was young when this happened. And the roll of shame is where you have to roll the bar down your body to get it off you, usually to the thighs, so you could sit up enough to free yourself from the bar. It is definitely a painful experience. And as I said, I got caught like this while lifting in my basement by myself. the weight wasn't even really that heavy. I just caught a muscle cramp in my tricep at the wrong time, which goes to show you never know what can happen when you're benching by yourself. And I was using a bar, and I did have clamps on it at the time. Dumbbells are another great option while lifting alone, as well are the safety racks with the catches. The bench press has proven to result in the most lifting related deaths, but in the grand scheme of things, they are still rare. And if you go heavy, don't be ashamed to ask for a spot. It is definitely less embarrassing than having people at the gym have to run over and pull the weight off you due to a failed bench press. And it's also not as bad as having your family or friends finding you dead on a bench in your basement or garage because you thought you could handle the weight. And like I said, basic common sense would prevent all of these deaths from happening. And as I said, they're pretty rare. You just gotta, and I think that comes with experience. I've found that a lot of younger lifters, like high school kids, seem to die from these accidents. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and hope it gives you something to think about if you do lift alone. And if you like the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And be sure to look for more in the future. Thank you.